The Cardinals and Sox have met 3 times in the World Series. In 1946, Enos Slaughter slaughtered Boston pitching in a 7-game series win. In '67, Bob Gibson won 3 times in another 7-game classic. In 2004, Boston finally broke through in dominating fashion in a 4-game sweep. Are these two teams on a collision course in 2008? Fox Saturday Baseball comes your way now. It is a glorious weather Saturday in Boston, Massachusetts, and we welcome you to sold-out Fenway Park. Interleague baseball on Fox continues today. The St. Louis Cardinals in town to take on the Red Sox. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Tim McCarver, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Baseball on Fox. A big day today for Boston. Today marks the return of Daisuke Matsuzaka, and they're thrilled to have him back in the rotation.
And, Tommy, it's a testament to the Red Sox that they can still be in first place and not have the services of Daisuke Matsuzaka for about a month. He has not lost a game all year. He's 8-0, and it's going to be interesting today to see if his control is on, because normally he has problems with the strike zone, and after a month off, we'll just have to wait and see.
As far as the Cardinals are concerned, it has been unquestionably the single biggest surprise team in all of the National League, and Timmy, perhaps in all of baseball.
Yeah, we talked to Tony La Russa a little while ago, and we said, Tony, how have you done it? He said these guys have done it through effort, execution, every day, the 3 E's, and sprinkled in with a lot of toughness. This is one tough outfit.
And here they are, 11 games over 500, the Cardinals. They won the opening game of this series here last night. So the Red Sox and the Cardinals gather again today at Fenway, and the first pitch is coming your way next. You're watching Baseball on Fox. I don't think you could ask for a more perfect afternoon. Closing in on 4 o'clock Eastern time, 81 degrees, humidity very low, a nice breeze at 12 miles per hour, and a sellout crowd as usual at Fenway Park. Our starting lineups for the St. Louis Cardinals brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And here to give them to you, reliever Mike Parisi.
Welcome to Fox Saturday Baseball. I'm Mike Parisi. Here's the lineup. First up, Skip Schumacher, playing right field. Next up, Aaron Miles, second base. Ryan Ludwig, left field. Rick Ankiel, center field. Troy Gloss, third base. Big Chris Duncan, first base. Behind the dish, Jason LaRue. DHing tonight, Adam Kennedy. Playing shortstop, 6 is shortstop Brendan Ryan. And on the hill tonight, Mitchell Boggs. Thank you.
Michael, we thank you very much. Closing in on our first pitch, reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. Well, the defending world champion Boston Red Sox have taken the field. And Tim, let's take a look at our Cars.com game comparison.
Top for the St. Louis Cardinals, they continue to rely on their starters, the best in the majors. Their starters have won 2 out of every 3 games. The Red Sox, on the other hand, with David Ortiz, Big Papi out, and Manny's hammy, we couldn't resist that. They continue to use all facets. What are the other facets? Their starting pitching and their speed. They're a different ball club without David Ortiz and using Manny Ramirez as the DH.
For the first time in nearly a month, they send out arguably their co-ace, I guess, along with Josh Beckett. Daisuke Matsuzaka, a perfect 8-0 record.
A lot of different arm angles, particularly to right-handed batters. And his walks are up, but his effectiveness is up. He's an unusual pitcher. Over 5 walks per 9 innings. For Daisuke this year, but he's yet to lose a game. Obviously, that implies that his offense has scored a lot of runs for him, and they have.
one of those kind of guys, Timmy, and there aren't a lot of them around baseball. You've seen a few. Heck, you've caught a few. I mean, you go back to the renewal of this great rivalry back when you played in that '67 World Series. But this guy is just tough to hit.
Yeah,
he might walk guys, but he's very tough to hit.
Yeah, he's very selective with the guys he walks. There are good walks and bad walks, and he gives up a lot of good walks. For instance, man on second base, first base open, that type walk.
So we're set to go. The Cardinals came in here and won the series opener last night, winning by a run. Skip Schumacher to lead things off against Matt Suzaka. Schumacher, a .305 batter with 5 home runs and 27 batted in. One of many Cardinals that just finds a way to get the job done through the first 2.5 months of this young season. It's ball 1 and we are underway at Fenway Park. The Red Sox back to their red jerseys today after wearing green in honor of the NBA world champion Boston Celtics last night. 1-1 to Schumacher. You can still see the shamrock cut into the grass in shallow center field. They had the Celtics here last night as part of the pregame ceremonies, and Paul Pierce, the MVP of the NBA Finals, threw out the first pitch.
And it was a brick.
Indeed it was.
It was the highest first pitch I think I've ever seen. Of course, you'd expect that from a guy close to 7 feet tall.
2-1 to Schumacher. And it misses off the outside corner. Schumacher red hot right now. Just when you think some of these unknown Cardinals, if you will, are going to cool off, they take off again. Schumacher, the prime example, hitting .385 on this current 6-game hitting streak. And there's ball 4, and he draws a walk to start the game.
We talked about good and bad walks. When you open an inning with a walk, that is anything but good.
Aaron Miles has played a little bit of everywhere. Former Colorado Rocky checks in at .289 without a home run, 10 runs batted in. Mike Lowell believing they might be thinking bunt after the leadoff walk. Not on the first pitch. Strike 1.
That is the 11th time this year that Daisuke Matsusaka has led off an inning with a walk.
0-1 the count on Aaron Miles. Schumacher a perfect 5 for 5 in stolen base attempts so far. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, you know all about Boston here at Fenway Park. Dominating the opposition, just 8 losses in 36 home games. Most of baseball has been a pushover away from home. That is not the story for the Cardinals. They are one of the better road teams in all of baseball, coming in 5 games over 500. In fact, the Cardinals are one of just 5 major league teams to have 1 more than they have lost off their home turf. 2-1, runner goes. In the air, right field. Hit pretty well. Drew to the track, at the wall, and it is gone. A 2-run home run off the bat of Aaron Miles. The first home run of the season for Miles, and the Cardinals jump in front 1-0.
How many times do you see a home run on a hit and run? The reason you don't see a lot of home runs on a hit and run play is because the hitter's simply trying to make contact. And here's a hitter without any home runs this year, simply trying to make contact. And does he ever? The one thing now, you don't want to pass the runner in front of you. As Schumacher retreats to first base, Miles had to pay attention. Whoa, believe me, I've done that. I have passed a runner, and it is not any fun. I did it with the bases loaded in 1976 on July 4th, the 200th anniversary of this country, and I'll never forget the embarrassment.
Is that right?
That is correct. I was credited with a grand slam single.
The bicentennial, no less.
The bicentennial.
Wow. Good going.
Not fun.
Well, you've lived to tell about it.
I hope I live another 30 years to tell about it.
Indeed. Popped up by Ryan Ludwig. This might fall for a hit. It will. What a story Ludwig has been this season. 16 home runs, 55 runs batted in, and he drops one into right for a single after the 2-run home run by Miles, who, by the way, homers for the first time since September the 8th of last year.
Wow. So Miles drives Drew back, and with Drew deep, Ludwig drops one in front of him.
Now Rick Ankiel. 11 home runs, 31 batted in. Many of you quite familiar with the Ankiel story. Came up as Baseball America's minor league pitcher of the year. Huge expectations. Timmy, if I'm not mistaken, you were there during the meltdown in the playoffs when Ankiel couldn't find the plate. Suffered through some injuries as well and has made it back again to the major leagues. No longer a pitcher, now a position player. It is an unbelievable story.
Yeah, it really is. The meltdown coming against the Atlanta Braves, and the first time he has ever played center field here at Fenway Park. That was last night. He has, however, been to Fenway. He played in the Futures game the day before the All-Star game in 1999, and then he traveled with the Cardinals in 2004. He didn't play in that World Series, but the first two games, of course, lost by the Cardinals, and then Boston swept them in St. Louis. But it is a remarkable story. Movie material. And
I'm not even sure.
That's not a stretch.
Right, and I'm not even sure somebody would even buy that script. You think about the odds of any young person making it to the major leagues, no matter how great you are in high school, no matter how great you are in college. I mean, even look at the ratio of guys picked in the first, second, or third round that make it.
Right.
But to make it as a pitcher and as a position player. And this ball is in the air to right. Playable for Drew. Getting back to tag is Ludwig, and he'll stop. And that's a first out for Matsuzaka here in the opening inning.
The despair, the disappointment of losing it as a pitcher and then having to go back to the minor leagues, suffering through, and I say suffering because he's learning a new position. He had some talent with the bat, had to learn how to play center field. And then to come up as an everyday center fielder is just an extraordinary story.
Troy Gloss having a pretty good year with his new team, and you see great numbers for him against Dice K. A pair of home runs, 6 hits and 9 at bats.
When on the road, give a lot of balls away, particularly the young kids whose number's 24.
And there's a lot of those jerseys being sold around these parts.
Oh, man.
For a long time. One and two to Gloss, who's knocked in 43 runs so far with his new team. He came over in a straight up swap for a long time. Cardinal third baseman Scott Rowland. Of course, Rowland started the year hurt, and so far it's been a very good deal in the Cardinals' favor. Pulled into left field, a base hit for Gloss. Advancing on to second base, Ludwig. Third hit of the inning, and of the first 5 Cardinals that have come to the plate, 4 have reached base safely.
Scott Rowland, by the way, the third baseman for the Toronto Blue Jays, leaving the security of Tony La Russa and the St. Louis Cardinals, and seeing his manager at the beginning of the year fired yesterday, John Gibbons, as Jeannie and Kevin and Mark were talking about on the pregame show. 3 managerial changes this week in Major League Baseball, one of which was the Blue Jays.
Chris Duncan, the pitching coach Dave Duncan's son. Those are the three managers let go this week. Willie Randolph with the Mets, John McLaren with Seattle, as we mentioned, John Gibbons in Toronto. Got to go all the way back to 1991, May of that year, where three managers were fired in the same week. It's a nice play right there by Varitek, keeping that ball in front of him. But Dice K has fallen behind Duncan 2-0. And take a look at the replacements. Jerry Manuel had a stint as manager with the White Sox. Got to go all the way back to '99. Jim Riggleman managing the Cubs, and even further for Cito Gaston, of course, who won 2 World Series titles in Toronto. Youkilis will take the out in front of him. Ludwig to third, Gloss to second, 2 gone in the inning.
Cito Gaston winning with the Blue Jays in 1992 and 1993. So he has 2 World Series rings and will try to win another one. It's doubtful that he'll win one this year unless the Blue Jays surprise everybody in the next 95 games. The Blue Jays presently in last place in the American League East, 10.5 games behind Boston.
Jason LaRue getting most of the playing time since Yadier Molina was knocked out cold at a home plate collision in Kansas City. Molina did come back to play last night as a designated hitter. In fact, he hit a home run in the game. LaRue spent most of his season with Cincinnati, most of his career, I should say, with Cincinnati. He's always been a very good catch and throw guy, not much with a bat, but here's that injury to Yadier Molina.
You can see how Molina turns to his right and was greeted with the body of Eric Bruntlett of the Philadelphia Phillies. A clean play and a concussion suffered by Molina. We know a lot more about concussions nowadays and care taken by the Cardinals. Well, very careful.
Timmy, you were talking back when you were catching, when you first came up, catchers didn't even wear a helmet.
I didn't wear a helmet for the first 6 years that I caught in the major leagues. And a 1-bar mask, which is a lot lighter and a lot different from the cage that Varitek has, or the hockey mask that is in fashion nowadays. But reading about, I asked Tony La Russa today during our meeting with him, reading about the severity of concussions. I mean, we didn't know anything about it in the 1960s. They're finding out more and more and more and how dangerous they are. Mike Matheny of the St. Louis Cardinals, retired as a Giant, had over 20 concussions as a catcher in the major leagues.
2-2 on LaRue. And a soft liner in the left field will fall in a hit. 2 more runs for the Cardinals. And they have jumped on Dice K Matsuzaka for 4 runs here in the opening inning.
John Farrell, the pitching coach of the Red Sox, out to talk. We try not to inundate you with too many statistics, but one of note is about how well the Cardinals hit with 2 outs. They lead the major leagues with 2-out hits. And here's another big one to play 2 runs in the first inning against Dice K.
It's funny you bring that up, Timmy, because you've been around baseball a lot longer than I have, but in 22 years announcing Major League Baseball, for me anyway, the one stat I love asking managers, coaches, players, tell me the stat that means the most to you. They said it's a stat that nobody ever talks about. The 2-out hits, the 2-out RBIs. Give me that stat for my team. We're going to win a pile of games.
And the reason why it's so important is it's not a cheap run driven in. It's not a sacrifice fly. It's not a ground ball to drive in a run with the infield back. You have to get the hit to plate the run.
Chris Smith beginning to get loose in the Boston bullpen. For the Cardinals, they have 145 RBIs with 2 outs this season. Second most in all of baseball. I guess the part that's interesting is, and maybe it throws that theory out the window, is the only team that leads them, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the team right behind them, the Texas Rangers. That ball is lifted into deep left field. Drifting back is Moss. It's up off the green monster. LaRue on his way to third, and in with a double is Kennedy. 8 men have hit here in the opening inning, and they are laying it on Daisuke.
Remember, Daisuke Matsusaka coming into the game with an 8-0 record. His first start since May 27th, and he has been rattled around by the Cardinal offense, who had batted around here in the first inning.
Daisuke's last rehab start, Terry Francona was telling us he got through his last 3 innings with 27 pitches. He's thrown 30 in the first inning alone, returning from a DL today. Now Brendan Ryan looks at ball 1 up and in. Ryan began the year on the disabled list, playing in his 39th game, a .276 batter. Now, Mr. McCarver, is that the way you used to wear your socks when you played for the St. Louis Cardinals?
Yes, it is.
It's a good look.
Yeah. No high stirrups. Just the elastic. The bottom of the pants is high. Hear that term throwback a lot. That's a throwback look.
LaRue, the runner at third. On its second base is Adam Kennedy. You see his first 11 starts, 5 runs allowed. Already 4 of them today. And the Cardinals trying to get more than just 4.
You know, the one thing that catchers ask for in pants in baseball, baggy pants, because they have to bend their knees. So you need baggy pants. You can't have tight pants and be a catcher. Certainly Jason Varitek knows that.
The 1-2 to Ryan. Struck him out to end the inning mercifully for Daisuke. Well, after a leadoff walk, Aaron Miles plays long ball, his first home run since September of last season. They tack on 2 more and lead 4-0 after a half inning.
Welcome to Fox Saturday Baseball. I'm Rico Petrocelli. Today I have my 2 granddaughters with me, Jackie and Caitlin, to enjoy this game. I want to give you the Red Sox lineup right now. Batting number 1 is Jacoby Ellsbury, center field. Dustin Pedroia at second base. J.D. Drew, he'll be batting third at right field, a real hot hitter. Manny Ramirez, the cleanup hitter, Mr. 500-plus home runs. He's the DH. Mike Lowell at third base, hitting number 5. Kevin Youkilis is at first base. Brandon Moss is in left field. He's batting number 7. And Jason Varitek, great catcher, batting 8th. And Alex Cora, the shortstop, batting 9th. And doing the pitching today for the Sox, Daisuke Matsuzaka.
Starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. We get a look at Mitchell Boggs for the first time. Making his 3rd major league start, appearing in his 4th major league game. He got his first victory 2 starts ago over the Reds. Struggled his last outing against Philadelphia, but a lot of pitchers struggle against Philadelphia.
This is the type hitter that Mitchell Boggs will have trouble with. The reason for that is, in order to be effective against Ellsbury, you've got to pitch him inside. And most guys who throw the sinker don't like to come inside to left-handed batters. They stay away from him. And Ellsbury can pepper the ball to left field when pitchers continually stay away from it.
In the air, left field, on the run is Ludwig, and he will not get it. And indeed, Boggs does have trouble with Jacoby Ellsbury. That's a leadoff double.
Right into Ellsbury's strength. That pitch away allows him to go the other way, and he has just enough power to get it over the head of Skip Schumacher. You've got to pitch Ellsbury inside, and if you can't do it, he's going to wear you out.
Now the batter Dustin Pedroia hitting at .277. 6 home runs and 32 batted in. Pedroia came racing out of the gates, went into an extended slump, and is starting to hit his way out of it. Lined into left, right at Ludwig.
Second time's a charm. I said Schumacher in left field. It's Ludwig in left field. And Tom, we have coined a new word today, a new baseball word. Mitchell Boggs with a sinking fastball and also a clider. We got tired of the word slurve, so we decided that half slider, half curveball was now clider and not slurve. So we'll see how that wears for a couple of years.
I like it. I'm tired of slurve too.
I'm tired of it.
Well, pitchers are tired of seeing J.D. Drew.
They are.
First pitch swinging. Pops it up into short center field and Keel for the second out of the inning. Boy, Drew, if there's a hotter hitter on the planet, we've not seen him in the month of June. 9 home runs and 21 runs batted in so far this month. And that's, of course, in the absence of Big Papi David Ortiz. And here comes Manny. Ortiz, the regular DH. And with him out for 3 weeks anyway, a little better than 3 weeks. Ramirez primarily has been the DH. They pick up a lot of speed and a lot of defense in the outfield when they do it. For the most part, it's been Coco Crisp in center, Jacoby Ellsbury in left. Crisp a day off today. Ellsbury back to center. Brandon Moss to left.
What other team can do that in the major leagues? None. And that means that within the same roster, to really have 2 different type teams. With Manny and Ortiz, you're bigger, you're more powerful, but you're also slower. And without Big Papi and Manny Ramirez as the designated hitter, Terry Francona saying we probably have a better defensive outfield. We certainly have more speed, but not as much power.
What an amazing career for Manny Ramirez. Of course, joining the 500 home run club recently. Next up for Ramirez would be Mel Ott. 1 more home run thereafter. Eddie Matthews and Ernie Banks. That's tall cotton. 2-2.
Best 2-strike hitter in baseball.
Short right field, coming hard, diving and making the play is Schumacher to take away a hit and an RBI. Who are the St. Louis Cardinals? They're making believers all over baseball as we're closing in on July 1. Beautiful pictures. Our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV, now broadcasting over 90 national HD channels. Get a look along the Charles River, separating Boston from Cambridge, Massachusetts. That is a home, of course, to Harvard.
Nice to go yachting on the Charles today. Perfect day for it, Thomas.
Schumacher led off the first inning. He leads off the second inning. He walked and scored on the Aaron Miles home run a short while ago. 3-0.
He's all over the place. You know, you hear pitching coaches talk about arm slots and being consistent with that arm slot. And we said in the scouting report that he has different arm angles, but that's intentionally that he does that. There, he's all over the place. You can see the frustration when he looks out to center field. Very ineffective so far.
Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. By Cars.com, where confidence comes standard. And by Gillette Fusion Power Phenom. Fusion Power, the world's most comfortable shave. A 4-run first inning for the visiting team. And a leadoff man aboard to begin the second inning. Miles homered his first time up. Strike one. Lined into center field, another base hit for Miles. Two on, nobody out. Let's send it back to Los Angeles for a game break and check in with Jeannie Zelasco.
Yes, from the Reds to the White Sox and the Cubs, Windy City showdown, an explosive fourth inning. The big difference, who am I kidding? Jim Edmonds, the big difference. First a solo shot here. He gets another at bat in that fourth. Hits another home run, part of a 9-run fourth inning. Edmonds now the third Cub ever to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning. This series heads to the South Side next weekend on Fox.
We'll look forward to bringing you that one. The White Sox and the Cubbies will get together on the south side of Chicago. Of course, this year, the first time both teams have been in first place when going head-to-head during a regular season. And I don't care if it's June the 21st. I don't care if it's April the 21st. If the Cubs are in the White Sox are in first place in the Windy City, they're screaming as this year they'll collide in the World Series. That'd be a fun town to be in should that ever happen.
Would it ever?
Ryan Ludwig singled and scored in the 4-run first inning. That pitch nearly hit him. Chris Smith was throwing in the first inning. He's throwing in the second inning. Way inside, 2 balls and a strike. Ludwig has been one of the, much like his team, one of the real surprise stories in all of baseball. I mean, you look what he's done away from the new Busch Stadium. He's just knocked the cover off the ball, but really when you look at his overall numbers, the 16 home runs, 55 runs batted in. We still have, what, 3 weeks up until the All-Star game? But right now, Ryan Ludwig deserves to be on the National League All-Star team. There is no debate of that. Former #1 draft, second-round draft pick by the Oakland Athletics in June of '99. Was traded in 2002 to the Rangers. Has had some devastating injuries. Major surgeries to his knees, to his hip, to his shoulder. Went to Cleveland for a short while. They let him go, signed by Detroit as a minor league free agent. And it was the first time in about a 5-year run in 2006 where Ludwig stayed healthy. And during that year for their AAA team Toledo, he hit 28 home runs, knocked in 80 runs. The Cardinals saw him, decided to take a flyer on him, brought him in last year as a minor league free agent. He had 14 home runs for the big league club in 120 games. And right now leads them in runs batted in. Yes, more than Albert Pujols.
Ludwig not drafted out of high school, and we'll tell you quite bluntly, it ticked him off. The only school that wanted to take him as an outfielder and hitter was the University of Las Vegas. All the other colleges wanted to draft him as a pitcher.
There's ball 4 to load him up, and you got to wonder if the afternoon might be finished.
Yeah, you got to get him out of there.
Of the 12 batters that Daisuke Matsuzaka faced here today, his first game back in nearly a month, he only retires 3 of the 12. Not what the Red Sox had in mind for Daisuke's first start back. He'll give way to Chris Smith. We're back in a moment. Talk about a way to make your major league debut.
Wow.
How about walking in with the bases loaded and nobody out? That is the tale for Chris Smith.
And when you decide to throw your first pitch, you may not really throw your first pitch. He keeps the ball in the glove. This is his warm-up. It's a non-pitch. He is a delightful young man from Apple Valley, California. I was at a Boston Red Sox boosters luncheon yesterday, and Chris was there. And I asked him, I said, what do you throw? Just in case Tom and I will need it tomorrow? He said, if I tell you, you'll tell the Cardinals. I said, right. So he didn't tell me.
You got to be kidding.
No, he didn't. He kind of winked and said, if I tell you, you'll tell the Cardinals. How about this? His first major league pitch, a changeup.
He's gone through a lot of injuries, as Christopher Michael Smith, since being drafted all the way back in 2002.
And another changeup to Ankiel, and a good one, 2 in a row.
Smith in his minor league career has broken a forearm, has had shoulder surgery, and strikes out on Keel on 3 straight changeups. Wow.
How about that? Maybe that first motion on which he did not throw the ball was meaningful.
Well, he left his fastball on that one.
Oh. 3 changeups in a row. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Now Troy Gloss, bases still loaded, 1 out in the inning. The Cardinals in front 4-0. Fastball that time away from Gloss.
If Chris got a double play ball out of Troy Gloss right now, this crowd would go bananas.
The inning started with a walk to Schumacher, a single by Miles, a walk to Ludwig. That was it for Daisuke. Smith fans and Keel, and this one is hammered way back into left field. A grand slam for Troy Gloss. And the Cardinals lead 8-0 in the second inning.
A backup slider, and the total opposite of the ground ball double play happened. And a toss back by a Red Sox fan.
That's the 4th career grand slam for Troy Gloss. His first as a Cardinal. And he now has 10 home runs to go with 47 runs batted in. What a shrewd pickup that has been so far for St. Louis. Of course, Gloss, a former World Series most valuable player for then the Anaheim Angels in 2002 in that 7-game series over the Giants. And you know, Ken Rosenthal, one thing about Gloss, He's put up some very good numbers in his career, and when healthy, he's still a very good third baseman.
You're absolutely right, Tom. I asked him yesterday about what it's like being back in the National League. Only one of his seasons has been in the National League in his career, and he said it's really not that big a deal. He's basically seen a lot of pitchers, being a veteran that he is, through interleague play, through spring training, and through all the player movement of this era. The one thing he said is that when there's a young pitcher that he hasn't seen, well, that could give him a problem. He hadn't seen Chris Smith, but wasn't a problem there.
Yu-Ain Wine.
Hanging sliders are rarely a problem for guys who are as strong as DeLoss.
Off the end of the bat from Jason LaRue, and the ground ball to Youkilis will end the inning. 4 in the first, 4 more in the second, and all 4 coming on one track of the bat from Troy Glaus. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. Well, Fox Sports has established Fox Sports Supports, a long-term charitable initiative devoted to raising awareness and financial assistance for health-related charities. Make-A-Wish Foundation, our baseball charity, grants 13,000 wishes a year to children with life-threatening medical conditions. If you'd like to help make wishes come true and bring joy to kids, and what's more important than that, please visit wish.org. Mike Lowell hits it on the ground to his counterpart, and Glaus throws him out. Well, if you're Mitchell Balls, you talk about living right. Here you are pitching for the first time against the defending world champions in their home ballpark, where they've torn everybody up. And when you take them out in the first inning, you lead 4-0. When you take them out in the second inning, you lead double that.
A lot of people talk about how a pitcher warms up and has to come in and sit for a long time. Tell you, if I'm a starting pitcher, I'll say, guys, you take all the time you want. Do whatever you want to do. Make me wait. And they've made Boggs wait 2 half innings, and he has an 8-0 lead.
Kevin Youkilis is drilled in the side by Boggs. We saw Youkilis have a big weekend last weekend, returning to his hometown of Cincinnati.
You know, that right under the left armpit, and that had to hurt, and that's why Kevin kind of looked out there. I mean, obviously there's no intent involved there. You've got an 8-0 lead, but it hurts so much that that's why you look. Can't help it.
Brandon Moss getting the start today in left field. Terry Francona very much likes this young man, but right now just no room for him to get regular playing time.
Not with J.D. Drew in right and Jacoby Ellsbury in center field, along with Coco Crisp. But had somebody told you at the beginning of the year that the guy who hits the first home run for the Red Sox this year is going to be Brandon Moss, that I said, wait a minute. But that is true. He did it in Japan to tie a ball game against the Oakland Athletics. First game of the season.
Now tell the truth, Mr. McCarver. Did you stay up to watch or get up to watch that?
I got up to watch. I did. I know. Something about it. I got up and watched the game.
Time to get up.
Early. I used to throw papers. I thought that went away, though. Once I signed a professional contract. Thought those paper boy days were over.
Well, that's good stuff. You got up and you watched the opening pitch of the baseball season, right?
Yes, sir.
2-2 to count now on Moss, and that one hit off the end of the bat out of play. Now, how many years, whether it be as a broadcaster or a player, is this for you in baseball, professional
My
baseball?
50th year.
Really?
Congratulations.
Thank
you. Wow. June of 1959 was my first year.
So you still never had a real job?
You got it. If you want to call catching not a real job, it's subhuman in a lot of ways. You know who the home plate umpire was in my first game? Waterloo, Iowa, in June of 1959? Brent Musburger
Come on.
was the home plate umpire, and the starting pitcher was Galen Cisco. And Brent Musburger, as a 19-year-old, was the home plate umpire. You got it, brother.
That is amazing.
Good, isn't it?
There's ball 4 to Moss. You gotta be kidding
No,
me.
that's a fact. I think Brent chose the right career.
I think
don't
he did.
You?
No, he's done very, very,
He's done
very well.
Very well.
I love watching him, especially in college football season.
Yes, sir.
So a hit batter, a walk, and Jason LaRue will come out to the mound and visit with Mitchell Boggs before he faces Jason Varitek. Of course, next week right here on Fox, some will see the Cubs and the White Sox. Others will see the Yankees and the Mets. A couple of great rivalries, crosstown rivalries. Kick it off at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. I assume that means you'll be in New York.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Two on, one out. Varitek's average at 240. 7 home runs and 24 batted in. Red Sox catchers have had a hard time getting on base and getting base hits. Varitek hitless in his last 17 at bats. His backup, Kevin Cash, snapped an 0 for 17 drought with a 5th inning single last night. 2-0. Well, now Dave Duncan, the St. Louis Cardinals pitching coach, comes trotting out of their third base side dugout to talk with Boggs, who's been given an 8-0 lead. He's hit a batter, he's walked a batter, and fallen behind 2-0 on Varitek.
One of the most formidable tandems ever in baseball, Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan. They've been together since 1980. And boy, you talk about some reclamation projects that they have handled with shrewdness. Dave Stewart.
Well, you know, everybody talked about Stewart. I tell you who was a good pitcher, became a great pitcher with St. Louis, was Chris Carpenter.
Right, right. Dennis Eckersley.
2-1 on Varitek. 3 balls and a strike. I mean, you just look at some of the guys that Duncan and La Russa are working with this year, with all the injuries, especially to their pitching staff. I mean, Kyle Loesch has come back from nearly the dead. No one wanted that guy in the middle of March.
Winner last night. He's now 9-2.
Pulled at Duncan, and just a hair late, trying to double up Moss at first. 2 away in the inning.
Had that ball gotten by Duncan, obviously the Red Sox are on the board, but very, very good base running by Brandon Moss. A lot of guys are doubled up on a play like that. Good play by Duncan, but a better base running play by Moss.
Number 9 batter Alex Cora giving Julio Lugo a day off at shortstop today, and there's strike 1. Cora at 289. 3 doubles, a couple of runs batted in. We're going to look at Kyle Loesch. Started last season with the Reds, was traded to Philadelphia. Right around the trade deadline, helped the Phillies, of course, to make that miraculous comeback down the stretch, catching and passing the Mets to get into the playoffs. But nobody wanted him. And now look at those numbers. Served into left field, and this will fall a hit. Scoring is Youkilis. Moss being waved around. Here comes a throw from Ryan. And the runner is safe. Throw to third. Safe there. A 2-run double by Cora. The Red Sox are on the board. They trail 8-2.
Good hitting by Cora, and an excellent play by DeMarlo Hale, the third base coach, who sees the play develop in left field. This is Brandon Moss. Now watch Hale, the right of your screen, waving on Moss. The throw is toward the first base side. And your third base coach becomes so important. He's almost like your 10th player on the field. A very, very important offensive piece of the puzzle.
You mentioned earlier that Boggs might have trouble with Jacoby Ellsbury. And then Ellsbury doubled his only at bat. Rolls over this one on the ground at Duncan, and that'll end the inning. But the Red Sox get a pair. They trail 8-2 at the end of 2. And we're back to Boston after a word from your local Fox station. Top of the 3rd inning. Chris Smith on relief of Daisuke Matsuzaka, who hung around for just an inning plus, the shortest outing of his major league career, and gave up 7 earned runs. Kennedy puts it on the ground at Dustin Pedroia. 1 away. Let's take a look at our Gillette trivia question today. Jacoby Ellsbury holds a Red Sox rookie stolen base record already with 34 this season. Who holds the major league rookie stolen base record? Give you a short while to think about that one. I'm sure many watching know the answer to this question.
Tell you a guy who could have broken the rookie record for stolen bases, or at least held it until it was broken, and that's Tim Raines in 1981. He had 71 stolen bases in 88 games that year. And because of the strike, the 52-day strike, Raines was obviously, his rookie status was over after that and was robbed of opportunities to steal more bases. I mean, he could have stolen 120 bases that year.
And that would have barely broken the record.
That's correct. Yep.
Actually, that would have set the record.
Yeah.
The record
Yeah.
would have been broken
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
Brendan Ryan struck out his only time up. He bats with 1 out, nobody on in the 3rd, and Boston trailing 8-2. In the air and playable for Pedroia. Let's check in from Los Angeles with Jeannie Zelasco and our old buddy Chris Rose.
CC Sabathia, the CC stands for Can Crank, promises me he will hit his 2nd career big league home run today.
We'll see. That was Fox's Chris Rose, Cleveland native, doing the lineup stay at Dodger Stadium. And that right there was CC Sabathia following up on his promise, proving American League pitchers can hit and can run the bases safely. 440 feet, gave himself a 1-0 lead.
How about that?
Did Chris tape that after the home run?
That's what I'm wondering. They let him in the Dodger dugout or the Cleveland dugout.
Right. That's great.
That is something else.
It is.
Been a rough year otherwise for CC Sabathia until here of late. His last handful of starts, he's gotten it back together. On the ground, what a play by Youkilis. He can pick it down at first. And Smith with a 1-2-3 third.
Hi fans, how would you like to step on the field at Yankee Stadium, call the shot for an all-star slugger during this year's State Farm Home Run Derby? Simple. Enter the State Farm Call Your Shot sweepstake for the chance to call a memorable home run shot just before the final round of the 2008 Home Run Derby. Good luck.
That's right. You can have a chance to stand at home plate during the 2008 Home Run Derby with 2 Major League All-Stars and call their shot. Go to SF, like San Francisco, SF, callyourshot.com, SF State Farm. And enter a chance to win a trip to New York for the 2008 Home Run Derby and All-Star Game. And, of course, you can watch the 2008 All-Star Game from the Bronx right here on Fox. Timmy, you and Joe Buck will be on hand along with Ken Rosenthal for all the festivities.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and it's one of those times where an all-star game features a ballpark that is just as big as the all-stars that are playing in it. Last year at Yankee Stadium.
The Red Sox come to bat against Mitchell Boggs here in the last of the third inning, trailing 8-2. Pedroia, Drew, and Ramirez, the trio to start things against the St. Louis right-hander.
I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans are very happy about the all-star voting up to now. Mostly Red Sox as starters.
Red Sox or Yankees, one or the other. Well, there's a real surprise, right?
Yeah. The Red Sox have 4 members that are leading in the voting of the American League. 5, actually.
Does that mean a lot of the fans that maybe are going to the game, that go to games regularly in the Bronx, might actually cheer for the National League?
Maybe.
With all the Red Sox in the lineup?
Oh, boy.
Here you get a look at the balloting thus far. A-Rod, Jeter, both leading at their respective positions, but you see Varitek, Youkilis, Pedroia, Ramirez, and the DH, the leading vote getter, David Ortiz. There's Big Poppy. He's been out since May the 31st with that injury to his wrist. Pedroia lifts a fly ball to right center, and Keel's got it. Now they've gotten some encouraging news here over the last few days on David Ortiz. They removed the cast. That is a removable splint. And Ken Rosenthal, you know, last week we saw the Red Sox in Cincinnati. They didn't sound all that optimistic. It's a very different tale now.
Tom, they are very encouraged about the progress Ortiz has made since getting that hard cast off. Terry Francona says it's possible now that he'll resume swinging a bat in 7 to 10 days. Ortiz told me yesterday the pain subsided. He's no longer feeling that clicking in his torn tendon sheath. Those are strong indications that he's getting healthy.
Tell you, the Red Sox have done exceptionally well without David Ortiz. In fact, as far as runs per game are concerned, with him and without him, it's a small sample size. I mean, you're talking about 3 weeks.
You're right.
But basically, it's a wash. Broken bat roller to the second baseman Miles, and Drew is thrown out. 2 away in the inning.
We were talking about it earlier, Tom. The reason that they're able to do that is their adaptability as an organization. They can go from a power-laden 25-man roster to a speed-laden 25-man roster, as they've done with better defense in center and left field. Manny as their DH. Now, as Terry was telling us before the game, he'd obviously prefer to have David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez both in the lineup. But without one or both of them, they are still a very, very good ball club.
Manny lined out to right on a diving play made by Skip Schumacher, ending the first inning. That ball blasted down the left field line, and that is a fair ball into the corner. Ramirez going into second to throw us offline, and Manny sliding in with a 2-out double.
I loved your call on that. That's the only description of that ball. It was blasted. I mean, a low curveball, and that's a type of hit, particularly in a game like this, that the Red Sox would prefer Manny not have to get, because he has to run the bases hard going into second base, and it's his right hamstring. As we said in the opening, Manny's hammy. We couldn't resist that. But it looked all right there.
Mike Lowell with a runner at second base. This game a long way from being over. Generally, you know, one club jumps in front of another 8-0, but this Boston lineup and what they're capable of doing, especially in this ballpark, they've gotten 2 of those runs back. A base hit here by Lowell brings them within 5. 1-1. Got to go all the way back to 1967. The Red Sox overcame an 8-run deficit to win. Interesting. It was 8-0, and they come back to win it 9-8. It was a magical year here in Boston. Only your St. Louis Cardinals spoiled the party.
Jim Lonborg, the Cy Young Award winner for the Impossible Dream Red Sox after finishing in 9th place in 1966. Carl Yastrzemski with the last Triple Crown. It's the last time anyone won a Triple Crown was back in 1967.
You were behind the plate every pitch of the series for the great Bob Gibson. I don't care, Timmy. I said earlier, I don't care what your numbers were. You catch every pitch in a World Series, brother. That's getting the tip of the cap. How good was Gibson in that series?
Oh my gosh. He missed 9 weeks of the season. A one-hopper off the bat of Roberto Clemente broke his leg in late July. He pitched the clincher with 2 weeks left to go in the season, and then won 3 complete games against the Red Sox.
On the ground to short, and Ryan's throw on the money, and that will end the inning. A 2-out double by Ramirez.
And I got to tell you, Tommy, they'll never forget Gibson in Boston.
Or forgive. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. By the new AT&T, your world delivered. And by Chevy, an American Revolution. Welcome back to Boston. We begin the top half of the 4th inning with the St. Louis Cardinals, winners in the opening game of the series last night. In front today, 8-2. Chris Smith on in relief of Daisuke Matsuzaka, who made his first start in nearly a month and wasn't around very long. Faced 12 batters, allowed 6 hits, 3 walks, and 7 earned runs. Matsuzaka walked the very first batter of the game, and then Aaron Miles clubbed a 2-run home run to the seats in right field. Foul tipped into the mid of Veritek, and gone is Miles. We asked John Farrell, the Boston pitching coach, what happened with Daisuke today.
Well, you know, Tom, he came in today after having just spent the stint on the disabled list. Coming out of today's ball game, he still didn't complain of any kind of irritation or any kind of discomfort in the shoulder. Obviously, the stuff was down, the sharpness or the command quite wasn't there. And against his club, obviously, we see what happened. But I think the most important news is he comes out not feeling any pain or any discomfort.
Yeah, John, it looked like he was just flying out of there.
Well, I think what he was trying to do is trying to generate a little bit more velocity than he might have been capable of today. As a result, obviously, the command suffered. I know he yanked a couple of balls across the plate, particularly to Miles in the first inning. Again, this isn't what we expected, but at least the initial health report is positive.
John, on a lighter note, tell us a little bit about this young right-hander, Chris Smith.
Well, he's making his major league debut here today, and he's got an above-average changeup. He's going to have to locate his other 2 pitches, but he's pressed into a situation here that's probably not the most desirable on his part. But he's got to give us some multiple innings. We've got a pretty big hole to dig out of, but he's had a road through the minor leagues that's been spotted with injuries along the way, and he's battled back, and he's not in fear of contact or any situation you put him in.
John, thanks for the time. Good luck.
All right, Tom and Tim, take care.
And as always, we thank John Farrell for his time from the Boston dugout. There's strike 3 called on Ryan Ludwig. So Mr. Smith has fanned back-to-back batters here in the St. Louis 4th inning after mowing them down in order in the 3rd.
It's always good policy to come back with the fastball after you've thrown a breaking ball behind in the count. That plants the seed in the hitter's mind that you can get the breaking ball over, and he can't react to that fastball. Good sequence by Veritek there.
And Keel is 0 for 2. One ball and 1 strike. Take a look at a Burger King hot zone for Rick Ankiel. He's been hot and cold in spurts so far this year. That's a lot of red for a guy hitting 252.
They've been throwing him up and in a lot of pitches.
Rolls over that one to Youkilis. Back-to-back perfect innings for Smith. Boston bats last of the fourth, trailing the Cardinals 8-2. Take a look at our Nextel productivity game summary. The Cardinals with 4 in each of the first 2 innings, thanks in large part to the grand slam, the 4th in the career of Troy Gloss, and the shortest outing in the young Major League Baseball career of Daisuke Matsuzaka. Of course, he pitched for nearly a decade in Japan. Lined off the leg of Boggs and into left field. Did he get his leg or get the mound?
I thought he got his leg initially. Ball hit very hard. A one-hopper. Looked like it hit the left instep of Mitchell Boggs. And here comes Tony La Russa.
Well, obviously they want to make sure that Mitchell Boggs is all right. Let's listen to this. Our Fox sounds of the game.
You know what? Mitchell does not look like he's limping around. That ball may have hit the hard sole of the right instep. More toward the bottom of the shoe than the top. And, you know, they say it's a game of inch. Another inch higher and could have been serious.
Ball one up and away to Brandon Moss. He walked and scored on the 2-out 2-run double by Alex Cora in the second inning. Two and 0 on Brandon Moss. Towards left and playable for Ludwig. 2 away. And let's once again check in from Los Angeles with Jeannie Zelasco.
And we bring you your Red Hot Reds cooling down the Yankees top 7. 2-out 1 on for Corey Patterson. Look what he does to Jose Vargas. Second pitch off the facade of the upper deck in right. Reds go on to win. Go for the sweep tomorrow at the stadium. 6-zip your final.
Well, one of the things the Reds certainly have to look forward to, outstanding young pitching. Edinson Volquez shutting down the Yankees last night. And Darrell Thompson today made his major league debut and threw 5 shutout innings in the Bronx.
So the Reds have held the Yankees to only 2 runs in their last 18 innings.
Baratek lined out to Chris Duncan his first time up.
Strange game, isn't it, Tom? I mean, you know, the Yankees have won 7 in a row. The Cincinnati Reds come into Yankee Stadium, and they're young pitching, good young pitching.
And they have another rookie tomorrow in Johnny Cueto.
Yeah, right. How good is this Edinson Volquez?
Oh, man, is he something.
Gosh.
Of course, the Red Sox, we saw him right here on Fox last week. Another line drive by Varitek again to the first baseman, and this one does end the inning with a double play. Hang with him, Jason Varitek.
Yeah.
Now, Tim McCarver's summer pad here in Boston. Well, that's a nice place you got working there, Timmy. Got the pool going. It's about a 20-family unit McCarver bought. He and Joe and producer Pete Machuska, director Bill Webb, and crew are here so frequently in Boston. Troy Gloss to lead things off, hit a grand slam back in the second. This fly ball well short of that. Moss has got it, one away. We asked Tony La Russa in between innings, is he surprised how well this Cardinal team has played so far this year?
So I think always if a coach answers he's surprised, that means he didn't think very much of what you had going in. I'm just really impressed. I think all our coaches are just really competitive day in and day out, no matter what. Very antsy. We have 15 outs to get here, but the club is very, very competitive, very tough-minded.
Tony, we talked in our opening about your use of 3 E's: effort, execution, every day, and that's what you've been getting out of these Cardinals.
Yeah, they're playing for their life. I mean, it's not a tough sell because there's not a lot of guarantees here. They're looking for the next day's at-bats or the next day's innings. So, you know, that's the way the game's supposed to be played, like the old days. You remember, Tim, when you had nothing promised to you, you had to keep playing every day to earn the spot the next day.
Right.
Tony, when will you get Albert back?
I think we'll get him back before the trip is over. We go to Detroit, and then we end up in Kansas City, and he's making a lot of good progress.
Thanks for the time. Good luck.
Thanks, Tony.
Cardinals swept earlier by their in-state rivals, the Kansas City Royals, before they embarked on this journey. And Tony mentioned they'll go to Detroit, where we'll have a chance to see his old buddy Jim Leland. That one shot into left field. A one-out single by Chris Duncan. And they're hoping when they get into the Motor City, if not right after, to get Albert Pujols back. They were playing in Cincinnati 11 days ago. Pujols was already being bothered by a tender left calf, came out of the batter's box and was carried off the field. It looked like it was a lot worse than it actually turned out to be. I mean, you know, a couple weeks on the DL is not good, but that looked like the kind of thing where it could be a lot longer than that.
They thought that calf had snapped. Baseball has made a change as far as strengthening is concerned. And now they've got to catch up to the strengthening, and the players have to be as concerned with stretching as they do lifting. And in my view, they haven't caught up with that yet. I think yoga should be cultivated in baseball, or some form of that. I think baseball has lagged behind for a long time with stuff like that. I do not think major league players warm up appropriately before games. I think that the trainers, the guys who are strength and conditioning coaches, try to get them to do it. But the ordeal of playing every day, you end up kind of jaking when it comes to stretching. I mean, we see guys stretching, we see teams stretching. They go through the motions, but they don't stretch like they should.
Lined into center field, a base hit for LaRue. Advancing on to second is Duncan. Not only are they not stretching like you would see somebody, as an example, doing yoga, as you point out, but they're stretching 3.5 to 4 hours before they play in the game.
That's right.
They're stretching before batting practice.
And it's not to say that that wouldn't have happened to Pujols had he been on a program of stretching and what have you, but the fact remains we're dealing with odds. Baseball is the type of sport that has sudden movement, and it's not like basketball. You don't see hamstring pulls in basketball. You see very few quad pulls in basketball. You may see guys break bones hitting the floor and getting hammered, laceration, stuff like that. But you don't see the types of injuries in basketball that you see in baseball. And baseball is unique in that regard, and because of that, it should require unique ways to stretch, which is something that yoga would give them, or some form of that.
Adam Kennedy 1 for 2 in the game, doubled down the left field line in the first, bounced to second in the third. The Red Sox have activity in their bullpen. Javier Lopez beginning to throw. 2-1 on Kennedy.
Should be an easy sell for baseball. You think about the money that it's cost Major League Baseball teams because of hamstring, quad injuries, the types of injuries that are specific to baseball players.
3-1 now to Kennedy. Well, the Cardinals so far this year have missed the most days players have spent on the disabled list than any team in baseball. Almost 700 combined days. The disabled list, it has 9 players on it, 6 of which have not played a single game all year. Big pitch right here for Smith with 2 on and 1 out. Pulls a changeup on a 3-1 pitch and gets Kennedy way out in front. Well, this will illustrate even more so what an amazing Cardinals season it has been so far. Now, Pujols just recently hurt. Well, they've been without Carpenter. They've been without Mulder. They thought they would have one back by now and the other coming back in about a week. Neither one is here. Adam Wainwright, Anthony Reyes, guys they were counting on and are still counting on to pitch well for them. Double play chance here, perhaps. There's one, and that's a double play to win the inning. So Smith pitches out of trouble. Bottom of the 5th coming up. Still 8-2, St. Louis. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Chevy, an American Revolution. Our aerial coverage is brought to you by DirecTV, your ticket to the most sports in HD. Oh, happy birthday, young lady. Hanging out with Dad at the ballpark. You know, there's no place that he would rather be. Daddies and their little girls. Doesn't get any better than that.
Got that right.
You're lucky you have 2.
That's right. Twice as good.
Yes, indeed. An 8-2 St. Louis lead as Alex Cora leads off the Boston 5th. He'll be followed by Ellsbury and then Dustin Pedroia. Mitchell Boggs, outside of a hit batter and a walk, has been pretty solid here today. Those 2 batters, the only 2 to score against him, making his first start at Fenway. But Ken Rosenthal, Mitchell Boggs has been to this ballpark before, has he not?
Tom, this is indeed his 2nd trip here. His first came on a school trip when he was a high school junior in Dalton, Georgia. Him and about a half dozen of his friends talked the teachers into letting them come down to Fenway for a weekend day game, probably a day just like today. And then the group's tour guide talked the ticket taker into letting them watch a few innings. Dalton grew up a Braves fan, and he still remembers the experience being quite different than what he was used to. The passion of the Red Sox fans stood out.
It's a great story.
Mitchell went to the University of Georgia, and he will be happy to know that the Georgia Bulldogs, one of 4 teams in the college finals, are leading the Stanford Cardinals 10-4 in the bottom of the 9th inning. And the pitcher in that game now is Josh Fields, the only remaining player with whom Mitchell Boggs played when he was at the University of Georgia.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Bulldogs have not lost a game yet in the College World Series.
I think that's right, Tom.
In the air, short right field, and Schumacher got a great jump to run it down. 2 up, 2 down for Boggs here in the 5th inning. Time to answer our Gillette trivia question. Jacoby Ellsbury holds a Red Sox rookie stolen base record this year with 34. Who holds a Major League Baseball rookie stolen base record? And the reason we thought some out there might know the answer, Vince Coleman with 110 in 1985.
Guy could run like that who missed the World Series that year when a tarp ran over him at Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
Yeah, for those that don't remember, that thing used to just come out of the ground.
Yeah, right. Cardinals were up 3-1 in that World Series. Tito Landrum took Vince Coleman's place in the World Series that year, and the Cardinals were up 3-1, and Kansas City came back and beat the Cardinals 3 in a row to win the World Championship.
Controversy in that series, of course.
Oh yeah, Don Dinkinger's call, and in Game 6 at first base. Ball hit by Jorge Orta.
Shadows almost halfway in between pitcher and batter. 1-1. And a soft one hopper to the shortstop. And down is Pedroia. It looked like he just lost his footing coming out of the batter's box. He doesn't appear to be limping. In fact, he's not limping, so hopefully he's all right. I've seen people like that late at night in Boston. Here's our Zantac relief pitcher profile entering the game. The third Boston pitcher today is Javier Lopez. Heartburn, attacking Zantac.
Kind of what Dustin Pedroia did when he went to first base. He is such a whimsical, playful character on the Red Sox that he really is going to laugh about this later. He's such a competitor, however, that he's he's upset. But that won't last long, and I'll guarantee you tomorrow in the clubhouse that will be fodder for play from his teammates. He is one of the most delightful young men that you've ever been around. Very, very popular with his teammates, and obviously upset because of that last out, but the way it transpired, the falling down and all that sort of stuff. They'll be jabbing him a little tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Up the middle into center field, a base hit by Brendan Ryan to start the 6th inning with St. Louis leading 8-2. And we remind you, Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Sprint. To get more done with Nextel Direct Connect, only on the Now Network. By the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. And by Avidart. Brendan Ryan, his first hit in 3 at-bats, and here's Schumacher 0 for 1. But Skip has walked twice and scored twice. Schumacher shows bunt, takes high and away, 1 ball and 1 strike. Schumacher, a 5th-round draft choice back in June of '01 out of UC Santa Barbara. It took him a while to get to the major leagues. 5 professional years, and his first year was only around for about a month. Second year about the same, and then last year hit .333 playing in 88 games. And he showed up to spring training, as Tony La Russa talked about, with no guarantees that he'd make the club, get any playing time. And basically he is one of 4 outfielders so far with the Redbirds to get a lot of playing time.
Tony La Russa intimating that hunger feeds production. When you're hungry for playing time, that is a good thing, and that really typifies what the Cardinals are all about this season.
Let's take a look at the in-game box score for the Cardinals, brought to you by Avidart. Lots of crooked numbers. Of course, a couple of hits, the grand slam for Troy Gloss in the 2nd inning. Miles homered in the 1st inning. First time he's homered in a game since September of last year against Arizona. And Jason LaRue, a couple of more hits and 2 more RBIs. He homered in the game here last night. Yet another example of how the Cardinals, no matter who goes down, no matter who steps in, so far this year, the guy that's stepping in is stepping up. Schumacher gone swinging, one away in the inning.
Good slider from Lopez. Not too many left-handers are going to handle that pitch effectively. He drops down. You have a tendency to give in the batter's box, and that pitch was unhittable.
Aaron Miles turns around to bat right-handed for the first time today. He's 2 for 3, has scored twice, hit a 2-run home run. Strike one. High one hopper down to Lowell. He'll play to first. On to second goes Ryan. 2 away. Let's take a peek ahead to some upcoming games here on Fox next weekend. What a weekend. Yankees and the Mets. Others will see the Cubs and the White Sox. And then a renewal, one of the great rivalries in baseball, of course, the Red Sox and the Yankees. That'll be over the 4th of July weekend. And then July the 12th, the National League Western Division leading Arizona Diamondbacks against the National League Eastern Division leading Philadelphia Phillies. Ryan Ludwig with a runner at second and 2 men out. A bouncing ball fielded in short center by Pedroia, and the inning is over.
Good play.
St. Louis after 5.5 with an 8-2 lead. Welcome back to Boston. The Red Sox come to bat bottom half of the 6th inning, trailing Mitchell Boggs and the Cardinals 8-2. J.D. Drew looks at strike one. A rare quiet day thus far anyhow for J.D. Drew. He's fly to center and bounced out to second. Ever since David Ortiz went down with a wrist injury, Drew has been a monster for this Boston team. Time now to take a look at our AutoZone strike zone for the starting pitchers today, one of whom has been long gone.
Daisuke Matsusaka, the shortest stint in his brief major league career. Bested by Mitchell Boggs thus far, and Mitchell will be happy to know that the Georgia Bulldogs have won their game 10-8 over the Stanford Cardinals in Omaha, so they advance to the finals.
To be determined who they will play.
Right.
Now look at that, Timmy. That is MIT. Does that surprise you looking at that? That would be MIT?
For obvious reasons, I've never been near that place.
Yes.
The reason I say that
they don't want you rubbing off on anybody.
No,
over there.
they don't. They don't. They don't want a guy who counted for 3 for a living to be anywhere near that place.
That ball launched into right field by J.D. Drew, and it's long gone. Drew with home run number 14. And now it's an 8-3 game, and the beat goes on in the month of June for J.D. Drew. That's his 10th home run.
He is the most valuable player in the major leagues in June. Formerly with the Cardinals, has never done better with the Red Sox.
Drew had a very disappointing year for Boston last year. And he'd be the first to admit it.
Yeah. What made Red Sox fans kind of forget his year was not only the Red Sox winning, but how he contributed to their winning. The grand slam home run in Game 6 of the ALCS against Cleveland. Huge blow.
He hit 360 during that league championship series. Consider this. If Drew hits another home run in the final 10 days of June, that will equal his home run total all of last year for Boston. Kyle McClellan gets loose in the bullpen. So Drew has a chance to hit more home runs this month of this year than he hit all of last season.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
Two and two on Manny Ramirez. And here's strike three called, and Manny knew it. The first strikeout today for Mitchell Boggs.
And a fastball at the knees on the corner.
Some of the great sights of Boston. That's the Old North Church. The harbor just beyond. Mike Lowell 0 for 2 is bounced to third, grounded to short. 2-0. Still a very good pitch count here for Boggs. We're in the bottom of the 6th inning, and that was his 80th pitch of the game. Three and 0 to Lowell, and there's a walk. 1 in, 1 out, 1 on. Let's check in with Jeannie Zelasco from Los Angeles.
And we take you to the bottom 6 at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers right back in this one, courtesy Matt Kemp. Solo home run off CC Sabathia ties the game 1 apiece as we wrap up the 6th inning.
Well, the Dodgers earlier in the week swept Cincinnati on the road to get within 4 games of 500 before losing last night. The day is over for Mitchell Boggs. Kyle McClellan will come on from the bullpen. We'll be back. Pretty good outing today for Mitchell Boggs. 5 1/3 innings, 3 runs, walked a pair, struck out a batter and hit a batter. And he'll give way to 23-year-old right-hander Kyle McClellan. A native of St. Louis, went to Hazelwood West High School. Was a 25th round selection by the Redbirds in 2002. He has had an excellent year. His last outing wasn't so good, however. He gave up a pair of home runs against Kansas City.
For last night's game, I was talking and kidding Mitchell Boggs and asked him if he ever was kidded about his last name. He said, oh, yeah. He said he was a great Hall of Famer. I said, well, that's not going to stop tomorrow when a guy named Boggs is on record to beat the Red Sox.
We mentioned earlier, no relation between the two.
No. That unusual batting style of Kevin Youkilis. I don't think I've ever seen anybody slide the right hand, right-handed or left-handed hitter, slide that right hand down into hitting position. Forefinger, thumb, as the pitch is on its way, he's ready to hit, and hits very well.
One and two on Youkilis. With one on, one run in, and one out. Did that get the bat or his hand? The bat.
Kevin already hit by a pitch in this ball game. And I'll tell you, it's a good thing that got bat, because if that got hand, that could have been very, very dangerous. Off the mask of LaRue. Oh, good play. Fine play by LaRue, who has done a more than yeoman's job behind the plate for Tony La Russa.
If there is such a thing as a cowboy in baseball today, and I'm not talking about cowboy up, I'm talking about a real cowboy, it is Jason LaRue. He is from West Texas. Swing and a miss.
No country for old men in West Texas.
Indeed.
Good fastball in on the hands. It gives you an idea that pitchers just don't get it where they want to all the time. LaRue was sitting outside, and the pitch was up and in to get Youkilis.
Now Brandon Moss, who's walked and scored, then fly to left in the fourth inning. 8 runs, 10 hits for St. Louis, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Red Sox. The Cardinals won the opening game by a run of this series last night. And trying to make it back-to-back victories, leading by 5, with still plenty of baseball to go here today. A ball and a strike on Brandon Moss. Way out in front there. McClellan made the opening day roster this season for St. Louis. Had never pitched above Double-A. And that breaking ball just missed.
Curveball went around the plate.
Now the break-even pitch. Ooh. Moss had a pitch to hit right there. Fastball belt high right down the can. Struck him out on a breaking ball. Well done by McClellan. Back-to-back strikeouts in relief of Boggs. We're back to Boston after a word from your local Fox station. Well, we'd like to remind you, coming your way Tuesday, July the 15th, beginning at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, Major League Baseball's All-Star Game from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Of course, the entire night gets started with a New York-style parade down 6th Avenue. That is going to be something else. Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer continuing to commit to being there.
Greatest display of the Hall of Famers ever.
The current All-Stars, the 2008 All-Stars, will be part of that parade as well. That ball in the air to deep right center field, and it is gone. A home run by Ann Keel to start the 7th inning to give St. Louis a 6-run lead.
We talked earlier about Lopez's slider to strike out Skip Schumacher. That nobody in baseball would hit that pitch. Well, not many left-handers will miss that last pitch he threw to Ann Keel. A fat slider down the fat part of the plate, and Lopez knew it.
Well, the Cardinals have come here to Boston, and they have just out-slugged the Red Sox. They have hit now 6 home runs in the first 2 games of this series. Gloss with a grand slam back in the 2nd inning. Two and 0 on Troy Gloss. 2 balls and a strike. Let's take a look at our Burger King hot zone. On the Cardinal third baseman. For a right-handed batter, Gloss has always been a good low ball hitter. There aren't many of them around.
Nope, but there seem to be more right-handed low ball hitters in the game today than there were 40 years ago. And I don't know the reason for that. I've heard several theories. They're seeing more breaking balls when they're younger, coming up with aluminum bats.
You're not buying that?
Well, I just don't know. Aluminum bats, there are very few college players, high school kids who have ever been jammed. And they get in a professional ball and they start having to deal with that pitch inside, and they can't handle it.
Ball 4 to Gloss. Well, we showed you earlier the leading vote getters so far, position by position in the American League. How about the National League, where you have 3 Cubbies right now: Soriano, Fukudome, and the rookie Giovanni Soto behind the plate. Boy, that infield of Jones, and Utley's cold right now, and Lance Berkman having a monster year. Miguel Tejada, the leading vote getter at short, and of course Ken Griffey Jr., the third outfielder, who just got to 600 home runs a couple of weeks ago.
One bad thing about the All-Star game for juniors, he'll have to go back to New York.
Yeah.
After comments saying that it was on the schedule, as David Aartsma is warming for the Red Sox.
Pull to the right side, tag, no. They get the out at first. Good try by Pedroia, but lost to second with 1 out in the inning.
Ken Griffey Jr. telling Jay Greenberg of the New York Post that the trip to New York was on the schedule, but he didn't particularly like coming back to New York. I'm sure that will not endear him to a lot of Yankee fans, seeing Junior in the All-Star game. I mean, if Junior's going to make those kind of remarks, he should have made it after the All-Star game, the way I look at it. You know.
They got to admire the guy because he might be coming back, and he knows he's going to be there for the whole weekend. And so far Junior's had a nice stay in the Bronx. The Reds beat him last night and beat him again today.
Yeah.
Junior knocked in a run in that game last night. Don't know what he did today. Actually had 2 more hits, and so 3 for 8 so far over the weekend with a run batted in.
The Junior better get used to New York State, because 5 years after he retires, he's going to have to go to Cooperstown. Now, that's not New York City, but I think he'll find his way there.
It's a pretty well, you're really going out on a limb there, Jimmy. You're 50 years of pro baseball. Have you ever stepped out so far on the ledge? Some of the Hall of Famers that have committed to being part of our parade up 6th Avenue leading up to the All-Star game. We'll have all the coverage of this for you right here on Fox. I mean, look at some of those names. Your old teammate for many years and a dear friend, Bob Gibson.
Orlando Cepeda, the most valuable player in 1967. Gary the Kid Carter. Wade Boggs, talked about earlier. Ralph Kiner. I worked with Ralph for 16 years in the Met broadcasting booth, and one of the grand gentlemen of the game, who once had a date with Elizabeth Taylor.
How did that go?
That went pretty well. Well, I don't even know what that means.
We'll continue this off the air. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Sobe Life Water. Thrillicious by the all-new Pilot, only from Honda, and by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. The Red Sox trail 9-3. They trailed from the get-go 8-0 after an inning and a half. They got 2 back in the bottom of the second. Made it a 5-run game on the Drew home run in the 6th inning. But then Ankiel answered that with a long one in the 7th. And Boston bats against reliever Kyle McClellan here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Veritek, Cora, and Ellsbury due up. There's a high pop-up. Left side of the infield for Gloss in the shade. He makes a play, 1 away. Well, Major League Baseball and the American Academy of Dermatology are teaming up for the 10th anniversary of the Play Sun Smart program to promote skin cancer detection and prevention. Log on to MLB.com and playsunsmart.org for more information. Please do that, and especially for your children.
Oh, yeah.
Load up on that sunscreen and wear a hat, put on a shirt, whatever the case may be. Of course, Curt Schilling and his wife Shonda Schilling have been extremely persuasive and very active in the battle against skin cancer. Shonda Schilling having to have some melanoma removed from different parts of her body, and has been very active out in Arizona and around the country. Of course, a story came out yesterday, Curt Schilling himself breaking the news on his radio show that he is going to have shoulder surgery, that his season is over, and quite possibly his career is over. Of course, it's been an ongoing saga as to what should have been done, when it should have been done, going all the way back to January when the problems initially flared up with the shoulder. Wanting to have the operation, not wanting to have the operation. When could you come back? As Cora's gone on strikes for the 2nd out of the inning. The long and short of it is only time will tell if Schilling is indeed coming back. What cannot be denied, and Tim, you've been around a lot longer than I have, but in the short time I've been around, Schilling was without question the best big game pitcher I have ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Co-MVP of the World Series back in 2001. 11-2 in postseason with a microscopic 2.23 earned run average. And a better winning percentage than Catfish Hunter. Just as an example, not that we're saying that Catfish doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, because obviously he does. But if you put Catfish in there for comparison, look at Curt Schilling's winning percentage as opposed to Catfish, and Curt Schilling's postseason performance as opposed to Catfish. And Catfish was a flat-out winner, and everybody knows it.
And Schilling a flat-out winner.
Absolutely.
And everybody knows it.
Absolutely.
You know, when you look at what Josh Beckett, for example, did last year, and I know it's a game, it's just overloaded with statistics. I mean, there's no debate about that. But when you consider that last year, Josh Beckett in the postseason had the 6th lowest ERA with a minimum of 30 innings at 1.20. Everybody else on the list, Bert Hooton in 81, John Smoltz in 96, Hershiser in 88, and El Duque in 99. All right around 30 to 40 innings. Schilling has the 4th lowest and pitched 58 1/3 innings that postseason for Arizona. We'll talk more about Schilling. Be interested to see whether you think he's a Hall of Famer, Tim McCarver. Time for a DirecTV game break, sponsored by DirecTV, the best way to watch sports. Here's Jeannie Zelasco in Los Angeles.
Welcome to the DirecTV Game Break, sponsored by DirecTV, the best way to watch sports. 10 more Hall of Famers have confirmed to appear in the pregame ceremonies for the 79th All-Star Game, only on Fox. Luis Aparicio, Ralph Kiner, New York City, yes, Gary Carter will be there. How about Wade Boggs and Dave Winfield, sans pinstripes? One of the greatest Puerto Rican players ever, Orlando Cepeda. Raleigh Fingers got the handlebar mustache. Cardinal great Bob Gibson, and a pair of Oriole legends, Eddie Murray and Earl Weaver. DirecTV, the best way to watch sports.
Top of the 8th inning we go. St. Louis with a 9-3 lead, batting against a 4th Boston pitcher today. Dice K, followed by Chris Smith, Javier Lopez, and now right-hander David Ardsma. An entirely new battery with Kevin Cash now behind the plate. Ardsma seems to have found his niche after initially coming up as a highly touted prospect as a starter with the Giants.
There's a saying in baseball that hitting is contagious, so is winning. I think when players become a part of a winning organization, and the Red Sox, of course, have been world champions in 2004, 2007, it rubs off on you. You become better. You're a better player. And I think Ardsma's a better pitcher now than he's ever been.
Fouled back out of play. Let's take a look at our game summary brought to you by Flomax. Solid outing by Boggs today. First time ever facing Boston, pitching in his ballpark. 5 1/3 innings, allowed 5 hits, 3 runs. J.D. Drew, we talked about his monster month of June. Red Sox have only lost 1 series here at Fenway all year, and they're 6 outs away from losing their 2nd. Let's get back to Curt Schilling for a minute, as Ryan is struck out. In your opinion, Tim McCarver, and we made the comparison to Catfish Hunter. We did not make the comparison with names like Bert Blyleven or Jim Cott, just to name a couple of guys that have, had really their numbers dwarf Curt Schilling in many respects, especially in the win column. Yet they're not in the Hall of Fame. For your money, is Schilling a Hall of Famer?
Well, I think so. And I answered it. We were talking about it in the truck hours before the game. I think so. I think his postseason record is going to be the thing that pushes him forward. Certainly, when you compare him with a guy like Catfish Hunter, who had such remarkable success with the Oakland Athletics, at 3 straight world championships, the winning teams that he pitched on. I've got to tell you, though, up until a couple of years ago, even with his postseason record, I did not think Curt would be elected to the Hall of Fame. But you look at his numbers right now, you look at the bloody sock game, and all of those things piled up year after year after year, and his postseason performances, I think, point toward his eventually getting elected. I don't think he's going to be a first-year ballot.
Ken Rosenthal, as a longtime member of the Baseball Writers Association of America, you have a vote. And if you had to vote today, Kenny, yay or nay on Curt Schilling?
It would be yay, Tom, but I'm with Tim. It's not a slam dunk. I don't think he's a first ballot guy. And he's a very unusual candidate because his resume is largely based on what he did in the postseason. There aren't many pitchers who are in the Hall of Fame who have that kind of career-type resume. But Schilling was, beyond that, a guy with a tremendously high strikeout rate. He won 20 games 3 times. He is a pitcher who helped this team win 3 World Series and was a pivotal member of those teams. So I say yes.
And in fairness, Ken and Tom, you know, you have more of an opportunity with the extra round of playoffs now to be more of a force in the postseason. Even though Kurt did establish himself for the Philadelphia Phillies in 1993 against the Toronto Blue Jays, winning that big shutout in Game 5 to force Game 6 back in Toronto. But I think in covering everything, it's a lot easier to be effective, and I'm not saying it's easy, but you have more opportunities to be effective in the postseason now compared to when there was just a World Series or when there was divisional play and no first round 3 out of 5.
Aaron Miles 2 for 4 today. Hit a 2-run home run to start the scoring in the first inning for St. Louis against Daisuke Matsuzaka. I know one thing. Very fortunate and blessed to have the chance to be there and to walk through that 2001 season. LCS and World Series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've never seen a more fearless performer in any sport in my life than Curt Schilling was in that 2001 year. Started 3 games in a 7-game World Series. The final 2 starts on 3 days rest. And I mean, he was something. You were there, Timmy. Kenny, you were there. It was an unbelievable ride.
Greatest World Series ever played, in my view.
There's a check swing and a miss, and Miles has gone on strikes. A perfect 8th inning for Aardsma. Boston running out of outs, trailing by 6. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Flomax, by Sharp Aquos LCD TVs, official HD TV of Major League Baseball, and by Applebee's. It's a whole new neighborhood. Our aerial coverage of Boston and points surrounding. Brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
And Neil Diamond above the diamond.
Indeed.
With Sweet Caroline.
Veteran Russ Springer, been around a long time and just continues to get better and better and better, having an excellent season for Tony La Russa.
Key pitch in last night's game with the bases loaded, nobody out. Russ Springer enticing a ground ball double play from one of the toughest outs in a clutch situation in the game, and that's Manny Ramirez. That was the pitch of last night's game, says Tony La Russa.
Well, the Red Sox 3 times last night had the bases loaded, and they only scored 2 runs. One on a sac fly and the other on that double play. Back to Springer. And Pedroia retired to begin the 8th inning. Pepsi, the official soft drink of MLB, would like to congratulate the Cardinals, who have homered in this series, and that's been a plenty. 6 of them are Pepsi Clutch Performers. To learn more about Pepsi's Clutch Performer of the Month award, visit PepsiClutch.com. 3 last night, 3 more today. Miles, Gloss, and Ankiel. Drew, of course, is homered for Boston. That came leading off the 6th inning, his 14th of the year and his 10th this month. If you're wondering about the major league record for most home runs by any player in the month of June, Sammy Sosa. I was there the final night he hit that home run in '98, his 20th home run of that month. Into right center field, caught by Schumacher.
That 98?
98.
Yep.
$20 home runs in a month. Can you believe that?
That's 2 every 3 days.
Oh, that's that Memphis math.
Well, it's an MIT inspiration.
I understand.
From earlier.
It rubbed off on you. That's nice. I'd have been here using fingers and toes trying to figure that. Thank you. You just saved me. That's what partners are for, right? Now Manning, who's been on once. He lined out to right in the first inning, doubled to left in the third, and looked at strike 3 in the 6th inning. Craig Hansen, former #1 pick, he's throwing the ball a lot better this year for Boston, getting loose in their bullpen. And he drives one to straightaway center, but lots of room out there for Ankiel. Cardinal bullpen lights out today. 2 2/3 and no-hit shutout baseball. Take a look ahead of next week. Some will see the Cubs and the White Sox from the south side of Chicago at US Cellular Field. Others will see the Yankees and the Mets. Kick it off at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, and now taking over in the top of the 9th inning. Right-hander Craig Hansen. And Ryan Ludwig is quickly behind. No balls and 2 strikes.
That's a deceptive earned run average, but often you see that with a reliever who has not pitched a lot of innings. You can get an earned run average over 5 in 1 or 2 innings, and it takes you a month to get it back down. But you're right about Craig Hansen. He's shortened his delivery. He's not bringing the arm back as much. He's leaving the ball in the glove a lot longer in his delivery. It's a different pitcher now watching him pitch than, say, last year when he was all over the place. John Farrell has done a wonderful job instilling confidence in Craig Hansen.
Still a work in progress.
Right.
We saw him last Saturday when he got his first major league career save and really was done a huge favor by the man we talked about earlier. Ken Griffey Jr. swinging at a pitch, and they had him on the ropes because he couldn't find the strike zone.
Sometimes when a hitter has an errant swing, he can redirect the pitcher back into the strike zone.
Three and two. And you're getting a look at precisely what we're talking about. Hansen gets ahead, no balls, 2 strikes. Next thing you know, a full count on the batter. Now, can he put him away, or does Ludwig reach? Driven into right center field. It'll be caught. 1 gone. Well, Fox Sports and Bank of America present Yankee Stadium's greatest baseball moments. Game 5, 1976. Chris Chambliss hit the first pitch in the 9th inning for a series-clinching home run. And due to the mayhem on the field, Chambliss did not actually touch home plate until he was escorted back onto the field after he'd already gone into the clubhouse. To vote for your favorite moment that will be revealed during the 2008 All-Star Game and learn more about Bank of America's MLB banking, log on to foxsports.com, keyword moments.
That reminds me of a story that I heard last night for the first time. 2 years after the Chambliss home run was the Bucky Dent home run here on a Monday afternoon, the 163rd game of the season. Dave McKay, who is the only Cardinal now in sunlight as the first base coach with the Cardinals, told me that he was with the Toronto Blue Jays the last game of the season. Red Sox had to win with Don Zimmer as their manager. Yankees had to lose. Okay, last game of the season. For it to force the game after the season, that was ultimately the Bucky Dent home run. Well, in batting practice at about 12:15 that afternoon, Rick Bosetti, a flaky outfielder for the Toronto Blue Jays, now say it in a good way, he was a wonderful guy and an adventurous sort, crawls in the scoreboard in left field and puts a 5 spot where the New York Yankees were right there. Well, naturally, the people who were on hand to see batting practice, they don't think about it. That the game hasn't started yet. but he put a 5 spot and a 1 spot. That the Yankees have put 5 up in the first inning. Now the crowd is roaring, they're moaning and what have you.
Is that right?
Yeah, and security came and made him take it out of there. I had never heard that story.
That's a great story.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, yeah.
And
talk about getting under skin in a hurry.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, the Red Sox had to win that game, and they ultimately won it. The Yankees ultimately lost it to force the Bucky Dent game. This was the day before. And McKay, as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, and they are roaring in the dugout and around the batting cage. They're taking batting practice. Put up a 5 spot for the Yankees in the first inning, and the game hadn't even started yet. Oh, boy.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, that was. It's
That's
just
my kind of guy, that guy.
Oh, yeah. Great story. Rick Bosetti broke in with the Phillies, ended up with the Blue Jays.
In there, a strike to Troy Glaus, who's been on base 3 times today. Singled, scored, clubbed that grand slam off Chris Smith back in the 2nd inning. He's fly to left and drawn a walk. You know, speaking of Smith, you know, he walked in making his major league debut today, Tim, and I asked you the question, you know, did he do a good job? You look at his stats, 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. Makes his major league debut, bases loaded, nobody out. He comes in relief of Matt Sazaka, but I mean, I'm sure he's hanging his head in the clubhouse thinking I gave up a grand slam, but he did a good job.
He did a great job. It was just the situation that he was thrown in. I mean, how many guys make their debut with the bases loaded and nobody out? Not many. And John Farrell understands that.
Still 3-2 on Glaus. It's been all St. Louis right from the get-go here today. After winning a 1-run decision last night, the Cardinals scored 4 in the first, that same number in the second. And this one is hammered down the left field line, foul. Now, Glaus, one of those guys who is so streaky. But he is starting to put together a very good year and is the kind of player that if he has that confidence, he could all of a sudden end up having an enormous year for St. Louis. He's just that kind of player. You know, when things aren't going great, he gets very down on himself. But when things are going good, he can keep it rolling for a while. 2 gone in the inning. Take a look at our game-changing plays. Brought to you by Sharp Aquas LCD TVs, the official HD TV of Major League Baseball. Dice K just didn't have it today.
No.
He faced 12 batters, walked 3, allowed 6 hits, and ultimately charged with 7 earned runs. Sharp Aquas, change your TV, change your life.
So one thing, Tom, about the Red Sox, they have such depth in their pitching staff. They have depth in their outfield. You mentioned you lose David Ortiz. You can put Ellsbury. You can put Coco Crisp, who's having a fine year. You can move Brandon Moss around, make Manny the DH. And they have that same type flexibility with their pitching staff. Headed by Josh Beckett. And John Lester turning into a very, very potent weapon for Terry Francona. There's Josh Beckett.
I'll tell you who else pretty good is Justin Masterson.
Yes, sir. 4-1.
We saw that young man last weekend. Masterson grew up just a little bit north of Cincinnati. And so he was pitching in front of family and friends last Friday night. And although he did not get the win in that game, he was very impressive for those of us that had not seen him pitch before. 2nd round draft pick.
6'6", 250 pounds.
There you get a look at Mr. Masterson. He came back in his next start to get the victory. He's 4-1 with an ERA exactly 3. And that's in 6 big league starts. Two and two on Duncan.
That's why, Tom, going through a broadcast and a telecast without mentioning the Tampa Bay Rays is odd nowadays. They've played so well, only a game and a half behind Boston. If Boston loses this, they will be a game out, and they play the Houston Astros tonight.
But Tim, I got to be honest with you, there are a lot of people in Tampa Bay that aren't paying attention to the Tampa Bay Rays, and it's really a shame. I mean, for a franchise that started in 1998, and you see 13 games over 500. They played a home game last night at 14,000 people there.
Yeah.
Joe Madden has done a great job. They've cleared out, some of the suspect character problems they had on that team.
Yep.
It's an exciting team. It's an aggressive team.
It's a fast team.
Yep.
It has excellent starting pitching.
That's not backing down to the Yankees and the Red Sox of the world.
Nope.
There's ball 4 to Duncan.
But I guess my point was the Red Sox right now appear to have too much depth in their starting pitching. They have a terrific short relief specialist, Jonathan Papelbon, one of the best in the game, and they can adapt and are so maneuverable with their offense. They are such a deep team, and that's why, it's unlikely for the Rays to keep up, but who's to say? It was unlikely back in the middle of April for the Rays to keep up, and here they are, a game out of first place. They're good.
They are good. They've got Kazmir rolling.
Yep.
Pitching very, very well since getting back to full health, good health. Here's Jason LaRue. Ball 1 low. Papelbon doesn't figure to get any action here today. He had a rare blown save a week ago today when we saw the Red Sox on Fox. Allowed a 9th inning game tying home run to Edwin Encarnacion. Two on, two out, and Hansen has fallen behind LaRue 2-0. Jason with a pair of hits and a pair of RBIs. Into foul territory, and room for Lowell, which will end the inning. So Boston comes to bat last of the night, trailing 9-3. Jason Isringhausen just activated from the disabled list a week ago today. Made 2 rehab appearances. They were starts. One at Palm Beach, the other in Springfield. Missed 26 games with a laceration to his pitching right hand. Went on the DL May the 16th. He is 8 saves shy of 300, but he has not been put back into the closer's role by Tony La Russa. Ryan Franklin is still their closer.
Isringhausen telling me last night that he's got to get back. It's not his arm, it's his mind. Check up from the neck up. Got to get back to that devil may care attitude that you've got to have as a short reliever. Devil may care attitude and a short memory.
Two and one on Mike Lowell. The thing that's scary for the Chicago Cubs or any other would-be wild card contenders, assuming the Cubs stay in first in the Central and the Cardinals maintain the best second-place record in baseball. If things go their way, and I don't mean 100% their way, but they think they're going to get Mulder back. They think they're going to get Chris Carpenter back. They now have Isringhausen back. Pujols is coming back. If they hit on 3 out of the 4, arguably 2 out of the 4. I mean, Pujols seems like a pretty safe bet, knock on wood. But if they hit on 2 of the other 3, this could be an even more surprising year for Cardinal fans. This is playable for LaRue.
Well, it would turn out to be exactly that in my view. A more surprising year. They have been surprising thus far. If they get to the postseason with pretty much the same outfit that they have right now, even if they get Carpenter back, even if they get Mulder back, even if they get Pujols back and everybody's healthy, I don't think they match up to the Cubs. Even with everybody healthy, I think the Cubs are a superior team. Now, that does not mean that in a short series, once the season's, that you can't win 3 out of 5 or win 4 out of 7 if you're matched up. I mean, they did that against the Mets 2 years ago, when I thought clearly the Mets were a superior team, but the Cardinals beat them. I didn't think the Cardinals were going to beat them. I don't think many people in baseball thought that, but they did. When Carlos Beltran took that curveball from Adam Wainwright, and Roger Angel, the great writer from the New Yorker, said it was such a deep, steep break. It fell like a bat in an elevator shaft. I thought, boy, is that descriptive. And it was. That thing started at around his face and ended up around thigh high. Kind of like that one.
Two to Youkilis. On the ground to Brendan Ryan. And Boston down to its final out of the afternoon. The producer of today's game, Pete Macheska. Our director, Bill Webb. Our associate director is Aaron Stoikoff. Our broadcast associate, Brian Biederman. Our technical producer, Sid Drexler. Our technical director, Jonathan Evans. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. The executive producers are David Hill and Ed Gorn. Our thanks up in the booth statistically to Mark Wagner, Wayne Fiddleman, David Corris, and our entire crew. We thank everybody that has helped make this telecast possible. That one lofted into left field, a base hit for Moss, his second hit. First hit today, second time he's been on.
Tom, you're talking about personal opinions, and everybody's got an opinion about a lot of different teams, a lot of different players. But talking to Tony La Russa before the game, Tony's saying that everybody has underestimated our talent from spring training on, implying that he hopes it continues, that they underestimate the talent of the Cardinals.
Well, anybody who underestimates any Tony La Russa team is just a fool.
Yeah, that's right. Too much experience. From the White Sox in 1983 to the success of the Oakland Athletics in the 80s, the World Championship against the Giants in the Earthquake Series in '89, and the remarkable success he's had with the Cardinals. It's been extraordinary.
Kevin Cash batting for the first time today. There's a roller up the first base line that should end it. Isringhausen applies the tag, and that's that. So, for the second time all year long, the Boston Red Sox have lost a home series. They'll try and salvage one game out of this 3-game weekend set tomorrow. The Cardinals win it 9-3 the final. And today's Chevrolet player of the game is Aaron Miles. He had a 2-run home run to start the scoring in the first inning. He singled and scored in a 4-run second. For more coverage of the Cardinals win and the Chevrolet Player of the Game performance, go to foxsports.com. Chevy, an American revolution. We update the National League Central Division standings. We told you earlier the Cubs make it back-to-back wins over their crosstown rivals, the White Sox. And Boston will keep an eye on Tampa Bay, who is scoreless at home against Houston right now in the third. More information on today's game and the latest in Major League Baseball, log on to foxsports.com, powered by MSN. For Tim McCarver and Ken Rosenthal and our entire crew, I'm Tom Brenneman. Thanks so much for being with us. The studio is coming up after these messages. We'll see you next weekend.